Hey everybody! Today we're going to talk about the Gradebook project. You've already done a version of it and we started it on Wednesday in a very short 30-minute period and we didn't get very far. So I wanted to get everybody kicked off a little bit more convincingly in the video this weekend. So I'm hoping we can do that. You need to open two things in Eclipse. One, you need to go get your old Gradebook project. So the one that mostly worked. Or that did work. And where everything was all in one class in one giant ugly loop before you learned arrays. So go get that open. And then I'd also like you to go to Canvas and you want the starter code that I put up there. And that project is named something like Gradebook with Objects. So it'll come in as a different project than your Gradebook project. It's got three things in it. It's got a Gradebook class, it's got a student class, because we talked about making student our object, and it also has a JUnit test, a set of JUnit tests under student tests. So I want you to pause the video right now and open those two things, the starter code from Canvas and the old Gradebook project. Do that now. Okay, so you should have both Gradebooks open, and right now the real question on everyone's mind is how much and what can I copy and paste from one into the other. And I know that you're hoping that it's all of it, but not quite. So here's what we're going to do. Let's look at the old Gradebook file. So if you have yours open, you should see that it starts with naming the input file. So file, input file, whatever it is, and it tells you where that file is. Hopefully it's in your project. So this part, that can transfer over directly. So go ahead and copy and paste that part. The second piece, it creates a scanner. You're still going to want a scanner in this new version, right? So we're going to take that scanner and go ahead and move that one over. So it's named the same, and as much of your code in this while loop as possible will transfer. Now you may have different people did different things between this scanner and their while loop. Some people read in the student name first, and then they had a loop checking to see whether or not that student name was end. Because remember, the last line, you'll get an end. You can probably copy all of that stuff, including the beginning of the while loop, right through there. Go ahead and copy all that over also. So these three things, the input file, the scanner, and the beginning of the while loop, I believe you can copy all of that over. Although you should check to see what's here, because you may decide to do something different. But for right now, I think that's probably safe. All right, go ahead and do that right now. All right, let me remind you of exactly what the goal of this project is. So we are supposed to read in raw data from a file, and then we print a mini report on each student that includes the overall percentage and their letter grade. So the raw data look like this. We have a lovely student, his name is Nigel. Nigel has some homework grades, some midterm grades, and some final grades. And if you'll recall, this number was the number of homework assignments. So when you read your gradebook, your old one, right? Remember, it threw out this line with homework, and then it used this line to figure out how many homeworks there were. So there were 2 homework grades, and then this was how much the homework was out of, right? Or there were 4 homework grades, and then you'd expect 4 numbers here. All right, then you threw out this midterm, but there was always only one midterm grade and the number of points it's out of, and then you threw out the line that said final, and then there were the 2 grades for the final, right? How much they scored and how much it was out of. All right, so what I would like you to do now is you're going to take all of these pieces and I want you to transfer them into the student class. So if you have the student class here, right, you're going to put these in as fields. Bring all these things over, right? And then all those come over. Delightful. And then I'd like you to write the constructor. So take a minute and write in how to get all of this stuff in through the constructor. Okay, so all of these things go into the fields, and then the constructor's job is to set every single one of your fields. So pretend what you need to have passed in gets passed in, that these all get passed in through your constructor, right? So think about how many different inputs it needs. It may be long. You can hit enter. Java doesn't care about white space, so if you hit enter, you can just keep typing the line as long as you haven't hit the open curly brace or the semicolon or something like that. Java still thinks it's the same dang line. So it can be long, and you can hit enter and it'll drop down like underneath and you can keep going. All right, so you can even line them up if you want. That makes you feel better. You can have one here and then the next one below it, the next one below it, and then eventually close your parentheses. So your constructor's just header will take multiple lines. So you can do that however you see fit at the moment, but pause right now and I want you to fill in the fields and the constructor. So while you're typing that in, why do we bother storing the raw data? So here are our options, okay? Option A is that we just store the raw data and nothing else, okay? So no other fields, just storing the raw data. Option B is not storing the raw data, having average homework, midterm score, and final score. Because those are the things that we need here, right? We need an average homework to get that one, we need the midterm to get this one, and we need the final to get this. Why not just do that in the client, right? Get us these things and pass those scores in, okay? And you use those scores to make this overall score and to get the letter grades, so what's really the problem? And I guess option C, if there is an option C, is that we do sort of both, right? We store both the raw data and these derived scores. Okay, so those are kind of the choices, and I have you at least right now doing option A with the potential to do maybe C. So why not choose B? Here's my thought. If you write a program and it works and it's useful to someone, like out in the workforce, right? You've written your program, you're like, yeah, this is cool, and you pass it off, and they get excited, right? They look at it and go, oh, this is great, this is exactly what I wanted. The next thing out of their mouths is going to be, so you think you could make it also do this? So specs change. It's true in engineering, it's true in computer science, it's true wherever you are. If you make something that's cool, people will look at it and go, this is awesome! So I have this new feature I'd like you to add. So if you're in a position here where they say, hey, add something new for me, maybe you can't. Maybe it's things like, hey, can you find me the person with the highest score on the final exam, because I want to give them a sticker, right? And so you could go through their final exam scores and life would be good, right? What if, though, a student wanted to, I wanted a list of students who were missing an assignment so I could email them, right? So I want to go through this gradebook and find a list of students missing assignments. If I look just at these guys, I don't know if they had a 0 on a homework assignment, right? I can't tell. And there's no way to reverse engineer that because I never put those raw scores in to use them. So when you do this and you don't save that raw data, you may actually lose some functionality that you don't want to lose. So I would rather put everything into my object and make it as flexible as possible so that when that, hey, could you add comment comes, right? We're ready to go. So we have all of our raw data. Now that doesn't answer why you would choose A versus C. And this choice, I'm going to let you pick for yourselves. I may regret that, but I think I'm going to let you pick for yourselves. And we'll talk about what you would have to do in different instances. All right, last piece for today. In this last piece, I want you to go back to the gradebook.java file. I want you to remember, here's your goal in this file right now, is to read in data, it's to build instances of student objects, and then to print out the student report. Now, right now you've got a file put in, you've created a scanner, you have a while loop ready to go, you're gonna have to look at your code from before pretty carefully or just redo it. It's up to you. But what I want you to get working right now is these first two pieces and ignore this right now. Okay? I want you to get the first two pieces working. So I want you to just read in the data and get all of your data in, and then build student objects by passing all your data, your raw data, into your constructor, using your constructor to build an instance of a student object. So take in all your data and pass it all into a constructor. And then I want you to stop. Okay? Read in the data, pass it into a constructor. All right? The reason I don't want you to try to print reports right now is because I really want to talk at the beginning of next period about how and where we're going to calculate homework, midterm, and final exam scores. Because whether you choose option A or option C, it's going to change where that code goes. And maybe there are pros and cons to different versions of that. So we're going to talk that through in class. So right now, it shouldn't be printing. I just want you to read in some data and pass it into the constructor. All right? Okay, I'll see you in class. Bye.